Yes, good morning all. Can I start? Shall we start?
Yes,
Guys,
ma'am.
are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Shall we start?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. My today's discussion will be on cookies and sessions. Um, okay. What is a cookie? When to use cookie, and how it is different from sessions? This is what is the agenda, and then I'll be showing one simple example to show the maintenance of a session or a cookie. Okay, I think in yesterday's example, I have shown you how to create a session, how to maintain a session. Okay, in an example. Um, Ramya, just tell me whether this font is okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yeah. Now, um, we will begin with the discussion on cookies, and I'll just have a comparison with the sessions that we have dealt with. Okay. First of all, what is a cookie? Okay, before I begin with the slides, can anybody tell me, have you encountered these cookies in your browsing sessions?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Like when we like go to some website, it will ask accept the cookie or any like those kind
Okay.
of things.
And one more thing, cookies you can disable in a browser. Okay, if a browser gets disabled with the cookies, cookies are of no use. That is where sessions are useful. Okay, until and unless you close the browser, the session will not be expiring. Whereas cookies you can manage from the browser. This is how they are different. Of course, we will see it, the difference between cookies and sessions in detail. So what is a cookie? Cookie is nothing but a small file which stores the related data onto the client computer. So it is basically getting stored on the client side. Never it is being disclosed on the server side. This is a basic thing that you must understand. Cookie is a part of the code which tries to store the data which are more oftenly required. Suppose you want to store something which is more oftenly required, then definitely you can store it on your part rather than burdening on the server side. Then I will be making use of what is called as cookie. So one more thing is you cannot store everything in cookie. uh, the data which is having a small kind of description or textual data, when I talk about, only that kind of things I can store in the cookie. And you can just see the maximum size of the file into which the cookies are stored. That is, at max it is 4 KB. So you can just understand you cannot store anything and everything in cookies. Okay. So this is always on the client side. And suppose you have set the cookie, that cookie values can be extracted anywhere. So the cookie will be stored as name value pair. It will be stored as name value pair. So there is a name for the cookie. Against that, the value that is to be stored, that will be stored. Okay. Then once the cookie is created by the user, it is useful only for that particular user. For example, if I have stored some cookies in my laptop right now, which is available in front of me, that laptop user only can see that. Others, it is not available because it is being stored on the client side. How about sessions? Session is being managed at the server level also. That is also one basic difference between a cookie and a session. Okay. So no other person other than the user can see that. Of course, if that particular machine has been used by somebody else, definitely that person will be made accessible to the cookie that is stored in that computer. That is where a shared computer should not be allowed to store the cookies in it. Okay, that's why a shared computer's browser must be disabled with the cookies. Okay, now what is a session then? Session is a kind of a global variable. It is like one unique identity. Through that unique identity, the whole of the things that are being done during that whole of the browsing session will be stored. So of course it cannot fit in that 4 KB of file. Definitely session, when I talk about it, it is being talked about much larger data compared to the cookies. Cookies, when browser allows or when user allows, and only then the data will be stored. What about sessions? Sessions, the data will be stored from the starting of the browsing session till the closing of the browsing session. Everything and anything will be stored. And when it is getting stored, it will be stored with the unique identity. Okay, every session has a unique ID. So when to start the session, when not to start the session, or when to end the session, it is in your hands. So it is programmer perspective. If it is not handled, of course, when the when you open the browser, till the end of the browser, until you close the browser, until that time the session will be stored. Have you seen any time uh, abruptly your machine got shut down, and when you restart your browser, definitely it will ask for restore session option? Have you seen such kind of options? At least type yes,
Yes,
no.
ma'am.
Okay, you have
Yes,
seen
ma'am.
such kind of.
Restore
So
pages.
that indicates what? It is a bigger version. It's a bigger version of cookies. So it is nothing but session is a global entity. Under that, cookies will come. Cookie is a subclass of session. Okay. So and in cookie, when you want to have the data storage, every data is associated with its key value pair. Session is not like that. Whatever, whenever happens during the opening and closing of the browser, everything gets stored. Obviously, this requires a high risk of security also. That's why you might have seen in many of the cases, when you enter your username and password, it asks for you, do you want to store this? Have you seen such kind of messages? Have you seen such kind of messages? That kind of message is a session management. It is a session management. Every browser is associated with such kind of session managements also. Okay, that is never called as a cookie. It is called as a session. Of course, session is a main class of the cookie class. Subpart, cookie is a subpart. You want to store the name and the password. Name is stored with username key, password is stored with password key. So when I extract key of the password, it will print me the password value. So cookie, I can take it as a subclass of sessions. I hope this is clear for you. Please let me know from your end. Any kind of acknowledgement is okay. This is okay? Clear? You can text me. Okay, thank you. Now, when I talk about either the session or the cookies, we just have to bother about what to store, what not to store. That is more important. Okay, because once stored, they can be accessible anytime. And normally what happens, you can store this session for the longer time. Okay, you can ask, you can have the option, I want to store it during the opening and closing of the browser, or you want to store it afterwards also. You want to store it afterwards, then definitely that would be stored on the server. That would be stored on the server. And whenever it is the same session is asked for, it is outputted out of the server where it was stored previously. Okay, and automatically when the session gets out of the server, the session will be associated with inbuilt cookies, small cookies which would have stored smaller data. Okay, so I can tell session is a base class, cookie is a subclass. Then Okay, this is how I was talking about. The session values are deleted automatically when the browser is closed. Of course, you can store them permanently. How you can store them permanently? They can be stored in the database of the server. I think you have seen such kind of messages. Okay. Now, the key differences between these two. Cookies are client side, sessions are server side. Why it is server side? Because the whole of the data can be stored on the server, which will be useful for me afterwards. You can extract it anytime. Okay. Cookie is not at all dependent on session. It is totally independent. Cookie can be used independently also. But session may require what is called as cookie for its working. So session is dependent on cookie. Okay. Cookie expires depending on the lifetime that you set. You will see soon the different functions that are available for the cookies. Okay. But session ends when a user closes the browser or whenever the user wants to delete it from the database. Then maximum cookie size is 4 KB. How about session? It is as much data as you like. Then cookie does not have a function named unset cookie. Once you have created a cookie, you have to delete it. You have to delete it. How you can delete it? By setting only the lifetime, nothing else other than that. For a period of that lifetime that is set for the cookie, it will retain. You cannot delete it in between. Okay, but session can be destroyed at any point in time. It can be destroyed at any point in time. Now, cookie related, there are few constructors and methods available in Java. Okay, let me just check out. There is a question. Are the usernames and passwords for different sites a kind of cookie? Definitely. Usernames and passwords, when you store them, they are termed as the cookies only. 1 minute. Few people are waiting. I'll just admit them. Thank you, Ajay. Okay. Now, when I talk about storing of username password are actually stored. They are smaller data. They are stored as cookies in that session. In that session. Okay. And sometimes it may happen so that beyond that session also the username and password will retain. Then I talk about sessions cookie data is stored on the server, the meaning of that. Okay, so smaller chunks of cookies will combine together to form what is called as a big session, and one big session will have its own unique id, its own unique id. Okay, now how to do this cookie management? The Java supports two constructors. One is a default constructor without any parameters, and another called as cookie with two parameters. One is the name of the cookie, that is key, and the value, key value pair. So you can give, if you know that there is exactly one cookie to be set, then definitely you can go for what is called as cookie constructor. By default, cookie constructors key will be assigned. So it will be stored as an array of strings. It will be stored as an array of strings. So if I take ck as the array, ck of 0 will be the cookie that is being set. Suppose that you want to give a separate name along with the index, because array stores along with the index. Along with the index, you want to give your own name because you don't know at what place that particular cookie was set. You don't know the index number. You want to call that particular value with the ID, with the key. Then you can set explicitly the name for that particular value that you are storing as a cookie. Okay, for example, I will let you know how this goes. Suppose that I want to store only the username. I want the particular browser must remember my username always, but don't want to store the password. Then I can store that username as a cookie. For password, I don't want to store. And username is a single thing that is stored. It means it is available at 0th index of the array. So I can very well get at any point in time if I try to access that array's 0th index. But if you see, I want to store my first name, last name, college address, phone number, everything I want to store. so that whenever I want to fill another form in the same regard, then all those things have to be extracted automatically. Then I can assign each with a separate name, each with a separate name. So username or first name is equal to this thing, last name is equal to this thing, my mobile number is equal to this thing. So you can specify separately in what index which value is stored. If you don't know, you can assign a separate name for that, so that whenever you want that particular value, you can have the accessibility to the particular name with which you have stored the value. Okay, this is when the second constructor is useful. Otherwise, you can very well go ahead with a default constructor which will be assigning the index for it. Okay, then I have, once you have created the cookie, you need to add that cookie to the cookie list. You have to add that cookie. Okay, and you, once you have added, you can get the cookies. You will store it, you will get it. Creation of the cookie, add that cookie with the value that has been created, and then whenever you want, you can get all the cookies, and you can have the accessibility of each cookie by prompting to the respective index. Okay, we will see how we will do this. Other than that, we have many more functions associated. There is something called a set max age. This talks about up to what time, how long this particular value has to be stored as this cookie. Okay, usually it is in terms of number of seconds. You can just see, if you open the browser, go to the cookie settings, you can set this the maximum age. You can just check it out. Okay, then you have something called as get name. um, the cookie value that is stored, its associated name you want to know. Okay, and the value exactly you want to know with reference to the name with which is being stored. Then set name, this comes whenever you create a cookie and you want to store that particular value with this particular name. Set value, it is specifically for the value to be set. So these two are useful when you have not used the second one. If you have used the first one and you want to give explicitly the name and the value, then you can use this pair. Otherwise, if you have used the second one, second constructor, there is no use of these two functions. Okay, so the thing that you need to remember, create a cookie, assign the key value pair to that, and store that whenever you want to extract it. Four things. So you cannot unset the cookie. I think I have explicitly mentioned it. You cannot unset the cookie. Reason? Cookie has a lifetime. This set max age has to be there. By default, it will be for 1 day. Okay, it will be for 1 day. You can definitely alter this based on the browser that you are using. Then, how to do the setting of the cookie? This is how I have used the first category of the constructors. What is that? The cookie I have used with parameter passing. Okay, what is that I have done is I have passed the name with which the value has to be stored. This is the value, this is the name of the cookie. Unlike the sessions, every cookie has unique name here, unlike the sessions, whereas sessions has, for a whole session there is only one ID. Then how do I add this to the response? I will add this to the response by using add cookie. If I go back, I have written the same thing. First thing is construct the cookie or create the cookie. Then the created cookie is added to the list. Okay. Then when you want to extract, you can extract it by using what is called as get cookies. Okay. So these two lines of code will create a cookie and add the cookie to the list. Okay. Now you cannot unset or you cannot kill a particular cookie, but you can definitely unset it by setting the max age to 0. By setting the max age to 0. At any point in time, if you want to remove that cookie entry from the list, you can do this. You can do this by doing ck.setMaxAge of 0 with reference to the object with which that particular cookie was created. That particular object with respect to that set max age you call and pass the value as 0. It means what? that particular cookie's key value pair is no more accessible. That is the meaning of that. And after doing the change, add that cookie again. Add that cookie again. So this is how you can unset the cookie. This is how you can unset the cookie. Any doubt at this point before I proceed? Before I proceed, any doubts you have? Please let me know from your end. No doubts. Okay. So I'll proceed ahead. Okay. Get cookies is the way to print all the name value pairs. Okay. You have, whenever you call get cookies, this returns an array. This returns an array. Oh my God. Just 1 minute. Okay.
Now what I have done is I have called this get cookies. This will generate an array of cookies. Okay, so you cannot each one of
Have the accessibility like CK of 0, CK.
that. Okay, but at every point in time you cannot remember which index stores what. Then what is the way out? I have stored with some name. Okay, this is the identifier with which I can have the accessibility to the value that is stored. Okay, whereas get cookies, voice is breaking. Now is it okay? Can you hear me now properly?
Yes, ma'am, but it is low, ma'am,
Okay,
compared to the previous.
I have put the
Yeah. So this get cookies will give me what? It will give me, now is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yeah. It will give me all the cookies that are available. But if I want to have the value stored in a particular cookie, then what you can do is you can have the accessibility of that particular cookie using the name with which you have stored the value. Okay, so we will see an example for this. Okay, you can just see. I hope this font is okay for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yeah. Now you can see that I have created one simple HTML file which accepts from the user and username. The same old example I have taken, nothing else other than that. Okay. And then I have created one servlet. Okay. I have taken an example of servlet here. Yeah. I have taken an example of servlet with the cookies here. Okay. Now in index.html, there is only entry for the username. Okay. Once I press on go button, it will go to servlet1.java. In the servlet1, I have created a cookie by doing this. Please pay attention to this line of code. Nothing else other than this. All previous things are repetitions. Okay. All three previous things are repetitions. I have taken the username that is entered by the user into a variable n, and I have simply printed welcome. Okay. Now in this line of code, what I have done is I have created a cookie with the value that is supplied by the HTML and stored in a variable, stored in a key uname. Stored in a key uname. This generates an object. This generates an object CK. Now what I have done, I have called this add cookie and passed this object to this add cookie function. Okay, and this is always with reference to the response object. It is always with reference to the response object because this value that is stored is responded back always for the request. So always it is associated with response object. Then after I have done this, I just want to extract it whenever I want. I want to extract it whenever I want. Okay. So for that, what I have created one more form which will navigate to servlet 2. which will navigate to Servlet 2. And when I go to Servlet 2 option, in the Servlet 2, just pay attention here. I have called get cookies option. I have called get cookies option. Okay. And this get cookies will give me, it will give me an array of cookies that is being stored. An array of cookies that is being stored. Either you can write ck of 0 dot get value, okay, or 1 minute, just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. See, I have extracted all these cookies using get cookies function. That would have stored the values in CK of CK array. Now what I have done, since there is only exactly one cookie available, I call this as CK of 0 dot get value. Okay, then what I have done, I have given a logout option. This is what I was speaking about. Sessions also you can manage like this. Okay, when you click on logout button, okay, logout button, I'll just go to logout dot, I'm sorry, just 1 minute, I have to change this. Okay, now what I have done is I have navigated to a logout.java. What this logout.java does, in this you can just have a look at it. Have a look at it. Cookie with the name with which I had created, for that I have set the max age to 0. It means what? That particular user's login would have been deleted from the cookie. It means if I even press on the back button, it will not be logged in again. This is how session management done through cookie. Through cookie, you are doing the session management. Okay. Now, I will just run this code for a while and then I'll come back to the program. Okay. Now say, okay, and when I press log out, you have successfully logged out. It means even if I press log out, even actually it should happen like this. Okay, even if you press on the back button, it should not give you the previous page. It should not give you the previous page. This is what is the logout option that you have to manage with reference to session object. Okay, in this case, since you are using cookie button, since you are using cookies, only that particular value gets killed. Okay, but what about session? When you kill the session, the whole of the session things will be no more in the server, and that is done by destroy underscore session. Okay, destroy underscore session. So when I take up tomorrow's class, I will talk about how to kill sessions and how to manage this logout option. Okay, in tomorrow's class, and I will just come back to this file now. Okay, now what is that I have, what is that is important here? The things that are important are creation of the cookie, add that cookie with that particular object, then the added thing, whether it is accessible in other file or not. Okay, it is accessible. Then that particular accessible value has to be reset back to 0. If I reset back the max age to 0, then it will make sure that that particular cookie is not available. Okay, and suppose beyond this, if I want to print, suppose beyond this, say string, I'll just copy that file, that thing from here. I'll just copy this and paste it here. Okay, now I will rerun the code. Okay, let me just import this. Import Java x dot servlet dot http dot cookie. Where it went? http dot cookie. I'll have to stop this 1 minute. Duplicate local variable. Let me write ck1 and let me change it to ck1. Okay. Now, if I try to run this, okay, it's not printing. 1 minute. Just 1 minute. I will just refresh this Tomcat. Rerun this. Should not remain actually. 1 minute. Should not come. This is strange. See, I have reset the max age to 0, so it should not show it actually, but it is showing me the value. It should not show it because unlike yeah,
Add cookie CK1, I think so it should be. Response dot add cookie.
cookie. No, it is after setting ck dot set max age. I have added this. Then
Yes, ma'am.
I have added this. It should work actually. For that reason only this 0 has been set. Okay, it means that it should not appear again. For that reason only it has been done, but still it is coming. Strange. Then what is the use of cookie? Mm, just 1 minute. I'll just check this. 1 minute. Yeah. Still it is printing. Strange it is. It should not print actually. Okay, let me check it out, guys, because it should not print, because when you have given 0 here, that particular cookie would have been cleared. For that reason only we are giving this. And look at this name, we have given empty here. Let me check the name. 1 minute, username, uname, correct? Have I given the correct name? Uname, I'll make this uname. Okay, and because the name has to be same, then let me refresh this. Yeah, and let me now print value. Okay, refresh again. It's giving me error. Get value. Let me just stop this. Strange it is. Okay. Still it is printing. Okay, I'll just check it out. But actually speaking, when I set this particular set max age to 0, it should not print the value that is stored in that particular name. Of course, I do not have any other option of unsetting the cookie. I do not have the option of unsetting the cookie. This is what is a major difference between a session and a cookie. Once you have set, until the expiry time, it will retain. Okay. But even then, when I have assigned set max age to 0, it should not print the value that is stored. Okay, anyways, I'll check it out and let you know by tomorrow. Okay. Um, uh, See, okay, this is how a cookie will work in case of servlets. Okay, I think yesterday I have mentioned about sessions example. Okay, let me just remind you about this. This is what was okay. If you can remember this, this is what we had discussed yesterday. Okay, you can have the maintenance of the session. You can have the maintenance of the session up to the last page, up to any number of pages. Okay, and if I open that, the thing that is very important is session dot set attribute here. Okay, set attribute will create a session id. It will create a session id. With that particular id only, everything will be accessible, and every time every particular session will have one unique id. How about cookies? Every value has a relevant key associated. This is how they are different. Even if you suppose, if I have an in index.html, if I have more than one values to be taken from the user, for every value that you enter, for every value you can create a cookie. For every value you can create a cookie. Okay, because they are distinct. Two different cookies are there for every value. But sessions, once you start a session, that session is nothing but a key or a opener for the whole of the things that is associated. This is what is a major difference between a cookie and a session. I think I'm done with this, but definitely I will let you know by tomorrow why this is printing still. Okay. Probably I'll require one more class to complete the portion. Okay. Tomorrow I'll be taking up lambda expressions, and then I will be giving you one big program for the implementation. Okay, you can take time up to 30th of January. Are you getting it? You can take time up to 30th of January for implementing that, and you can choose whichever type of thing that you want. You can choose. You can use either servlet, you can use cookies, you can use sessions, you can use JSP, you can use a simple generics, anything, everything combined together, one big application. Okay, guys, I just want to know from you. Let me stop recording first of all. Okay.